With me now is Laura Blumenfeld, Middle East analyst and senior fellow at Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. Laura, this idea that Israel might illegally annex the Palestinian West Bank, it's been debated in Israel for a long time now. Do you think the conditions are there for it to happen in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating report, and you're right that there's internal debate in Israel. The activist who was cited there is an Israeli Jew. I mean, there are Israelis on all sides of this issue, and it goes back generations. I mean, arguably back to the Bible. I think as we turn the corner to the Trump presidency, there are two camps. There are the annexationists who would support a move by the Israeli settlers to take that land. And then there are the normalization camp, those who want to see the Abraham Accords expanded for Israel to reach out and make peace with Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia has been very clear that for them to make peace with Israel, their precondition would be a Palestinian state. So I think there's going to be a real debate, not only in Israeli society that we've seen, but also in the Trump camp. Trump is popular in Israel. He's polling twice as high as Israel's prime minister, Netanyahu. And so Netanyahu is really kind of on the hook with Trump. There's nowhere for him to run and hide. It's not like in the Biden presidency where Netanyahu could appeal to the Republican Congress, because in this case, Republican Congress is likely to be lockstep with Trump on this issue.
So the far right in Israel, it sounds like, is counting on Trump for backing of this plan. But it sounds like to me that you're saying that Trump may have more say in this in some ways than Netanyahu himself.
I'm also saying not so fast. Don't get drunk on Trump, because he's keeping everyone guessing. He likes it that way. He also is desperate for deals. He's a deal maker, and he'd like to make that peace deal, that normalization deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and create a defense pact between the United States and Saudi Arabia while he's at it. That's in our interest as a way to deter an increasingly aggressive Russia and also China, who's our main adversary in the Middle East for influence, especially with the wealthy Gulf states. So, yeah, I would say it's not clear at all that Trump is going to go for annexation. I mean, one sign that he might be kind of favoring that kind of notion that Israelis and Jews, in fact, are the true indigenous people in the West Bank, going back to the Bible, is his appointment of the American ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, who, cites the Old Testament when he says that Jews are the rightful owners of that land. So we're going to have to wait and see, which is exactly how President Trump wants it to be.
So we're talking about Trump's strategy in the region. What about Israel's strategy in the region? I mean, Israel's been walking this line for years of controlling the West Bank and building on it without officially annexing it. What's behind that strategy? And just briefly, what would change if they came out and said, this land is now ours, it's officially Israel?
It has been for years. I mean, when I worked under President Obama on the Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team, I visited that village. That was in 2014. It was an issue then. It's an issue today. I think that the bigger problem, it's not just the ideologues who are pushing for pushing against a Palestinian state on those lands. It's also just your average Israeli after the attacks, after the slaughter of October 7th in 2023. Your average Israeli is really afraid that a Palestinian state in the West Bank could turn into a launching pad for jihadi attacks. And the hostages who are still languishing in Gaza, the folks who are living, the Israelis along the border with Gaza now, they were among the most liberal, sort of pro-Palestinian state of the Israelis. And so it's just a tough time for everyone. It's going to take someone like President Trump, I think, to kind of lay down some laws, and we'll see, where we can go for there. I think a strong president will have a lot of leverage over Prime Minister Netanyahu, and Netanyahu can use that to push back against his own right-wing members of his cabinet.
Laura Blumenfeld, thanks. We're gonna have to leave it there. A lot of tough theories. We're gonna have to see how they play out. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.